A researcher at the University of St. Gallen tracked the financial behavior of Swiss households earning over 200,000 francs a year, following 1,400 families across 15 years. What they found changed everything. 63% of them drove cars that were more than 8 years old. Not because they couldn't afford new ones, because they didn't want them. Picture a Tuesday morning in Zurich. A man in his early 50s pulls into an underground parking garage. Clean jacket, quiet confidence. He steps out of a 2014 Volvo with 140,000 kilometers on it. He manages a private wealth portfolio worth 40 million francs. The car has a small scratch above the rear wheel. He has never had it repaired. You might be thinking, Swiss people earn more, so they can afford to be modest fare. One sentence of credit for that thought. But that's exactly backwards. The data shows the modesty is why they earn more, not the other way around. This isn't a cultural quirk. It isn't high taxes forcing restraint. It's a system, one that Swiss financial culture has a specific name for. And once you understand it, you can't unsee it. The question nobody had thought to ask wasn't, why are wealthy Swiss people modest? It was, what does that modesty actually earn them? The St. Gallen team tracked 2 groups of high-income earners over 15 years. One group replaced their car every 3 to 4 years, the global average for affluent households. The other followed the Swiss pattern, keeping vehicles 8 to 12 years. The difference in accumulated wealth at the end of 15 years wasn't small. It was 340,000 francs, same income, same jobs, same city, different relationship with one object. This is where it gets interesting. There is a word in Swiss culture for what drove that difference, bescheidenheit. It doesn't translate cleanly as modesty. That's too passive. Bescheidenheit is an active choice, a deliberate refusal to let possessions speak on your behalf. Not a feeling, not a personality trait, a system. And the reason it compounds into 340,000 francs over 15 years is something you can install in your own financial life starting tonight. But first, you need to understand what everyone else is doing instead. Here's what most Americans do. A new car rolls off the lot. It costs $47,000. The buyer signs for a 72-month loan because the monthly payment feels manageable. They drive it for 4 years. Then they trade it in, still owing $14,000, and roll that debt into the next car. This is called the debt treadmill, and it's invisible from inside it. The psychological mechanism driving it has a name: status maintenance bias. The need to signal your current financial position. Not where you are, but where you want to be seen. Maintenance bias doesn't feel like a trap. It feels like a reasonable upgrade. It feels like you've earned it. But the math doesn't care what it feels like. The average American spends $12,000 per year on vehicle ownership. The average Swiss household earning the same income spends $42,200 every year. For decades, maintenance bias doesn't build wealth. It performs it. First, depreciation awareness. A new car loses between 15 and 25% of its value in the first year alone. By year 5, it has lost roughly 60% of what you paid for it. Swiss financial culture treats this not as an unfortunate reality, but as a decision. You are choosing to purchase that depreciation every time. The Swiss term for this mental accounting is Wertbewusstsein, value consciousness, not cheapness, not frugality. A precise awareness of what something is actually worth versus what it costs you. The man in the 2014 Volvo isn't driving an old car because he's saving money. He's refusing to purchase a guaranteed 60% loss. Refusing a 60% guaranteed loss isn't frugality. It's mathematics. Second, opportunity cost clarity. Swiss high-income earners don't just think about what something costs. They think about what that money does next. A $15,000 difference between a new car and a well-maintained used one, invested at a modest 7% annual return, becomes $59,000 in 15 years. That calculation lives in Swiss financial culture, the way mortgage rates live in American financial culture. It's not academic, it's automatic. When you develop opportunity cost clarity, every purchase stops being a transaction and becomes a choice between two futures. One future has a new car smell, the other has $59,000. Choose third, the invisible wealth signal. This is the one nobody expects. In Swiss social circles, particularly among genuinely wealthy ones, driving an old car is not a symbol of financial struggle. It is a signal of financial intelligence. But here's what nobody expected. It marks you as someone who understands the game. Because of something behavioral economists call identity decoupling, the practice of consciously separating who you are from what you own. When your sense of self is no longer attached to your possessions, you stop needing to upgrade them to feel like yourself. Gone. The desire to replace simply evaporates. Swiss wealth culture has an almost universal contempt for what they call Schaufenstervermögen, window display wealth. Wealth performed for an audience. Wealth that exists to be seen rather than to compound. The man in the Volvo is not invisible in his community. He's legible, to the right people. A 10-year-old car with a scratch above the rear wheel and no apology attached says, "I don't need you to think I'm rich. I'm busy becoming richer." That is a completely different identity than the one most people are constructing. One car payment at a time, step 1. Tonight, calculate what your current vehicle costs you per year. Add the payment, insurance, fuel, and maintenance. Write the actual number down, not an estimate. The real number, step 2. Tomorrow, look up the total cost of ownership for your vehicle over the next 5 years, using the Edmunds True Cost to own calculator. Write that number beside the first one. Step 3. Calculate what the 5-year difference between your current vehicle path and keeping a paid-off car running would become invested at 7% annually. Use any compound interest calculator. Write that number down. Step 4. Put those 3 numbers somewhere you see them every day. Your phone lock screen. A note above your desk. Let the numbers do what Swiss financial culture does automatically. Make the real cost of status visible before you pay it. You stop feeling like someone who is always one upgrade away from feeling financially stable. You start feeling like someone who sees the game clearly. Someone who has quietly opted out of a system designed to keep you spending. That is the identity shift, not deprivation. Precision. Think back to that Tuesday morning in Zurich, the underground garage, the clean jacket, the scratched Volvo nobody bothered to fix. That scratch isn't neglect, it's a statement. It says, I know exactly what this car is worth, and exactly what the alternative would have cost me. Do that calculation tonight, because the Swiss figured something out a long time ago. The quietest cars in the parking lot belong to the people who own the building.